Hello, everyone. So, welcome back again to Samsung Business Talk. This time is the third business talk that we consider in Samsung B2B, and we would like to discuss about artificial intelligence. Many of you maybe heard about artificial intelligence, and so many hype around that. With the rapid progress, I think AI is no longer future technology. You already use AI in Samsung devices or in many other technology that you are using now. So in this time, we would like to discuss more deeper about AI. And we are very lucky today because we have what we call expert in AI in Indonesia and also in many other countries that we invite to our Samsung Business Talk this time. According to expert, AI is something that we build to enable the machine to act and think like human being, despite the fact that we still not understand what is the intelligence of human being. We make progress. There's a lot of progress in the technology from neural networks and deep learning. And now is the time for us to see what is the opportunity and challenge for AI, especially in enterprise. And to make sure that we can have good insight, we invite one of the influencer in Indonesia that I consider myself as my mentor, and also many of us in Indonesia AI community consider himself as a leader who always inspire us to do more collaborative and to partner with everyone to make a progress in AI in Indonesia. So his special guest today is Mr. Only. He is the CEO and CTO of GDP Labs. He also the CTO of GDP Venture. We are very excited to have him here, and welcome to Samsung Business Talk.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So many of us maybe don't know what is GDP because you are well known before in Microsoft and in Symantec, maybe in Silicon Valley. But when you decide maybe a long time back to come back to Indonesia, you built GDP with GDP Venture and local group. Can you tell us more? What is your vision or your mission in GDP Labs, and what excites you every morning to come to the office and do something?
Yeah, I was born and raised in Indonesia, and I ended up when studying and working and living in the US for 30 years. I returned to Indonesia about 11 years ago. I joined GDP Venture. This is an investment arm of the Jarum Group. So I joined initially as the GDP Venture CTO, the Chief Technology Officer, which focus on the technology side of it, because GDP Venture focus investing in high tech industry startups, so it makes sense to have technologies in the group. Mm-hmm. And I also have a second role, GDP Labs. The reason that we created GDP Labs about 10 years ago, because we saw back then there were a lot of shortcomings in terms of engineering best practices. And I noticed when 11 years ago when I returned home, many people didn't even know the career path of software engineer. They think engineer is the same. I give the analogy, engineer is like doctor. You have different specialization like dentist, optometrist, family doctor, surgeon, and so on. Software engineer also is the same. Yeah, right. You have front end, back end, Java, database, networking, security engineers, right? So we start applying some best practices that I learned in the US from Microsoft, Silicon Valley, in terms of best practice, how to develop software using the right equipment, and how to interview what kind of question to ask. Mm-hmm. So that led us to build GDP Labs. The keyword is the labs here. So because
is it a kind of R&D?
In a way, yeah, you call it. If we look at the R&D, research and development, think about it. This is quote unquote the research part of it. Apply research to be specific. So we monitor and learn the emerging technology like 5-8 years ago, like AI was still emerging because of the breakthrough in the deep learning. So we learn and monitor, and we partner, we invest in that area. That's just one example. And of course, in our industry is a very fast changing. That 8 years ago, 10 years ago, it was AI, and now it's kind of going mainstream. But after that, we have blockchain now coming, right? And also quantum computing, and before that there was a cloud computing. So a lot of these things, because it's fast changing like this, we have to be agile and use this technology as a potential of competitive edge for our startups.
So it's very interesting, but for such a big group, number one biggest group in Indonesia like Jarum and BCA, and they want to invest on the technology that maybe is not easy for this kind of a transformation. So many companies also wants to do that, but many companies also have challenge to do that. How what is insight from you about how to make sure that the big ship companies can utilize this artificial intelligence to innovate, making their competitiveness?
Yeah, I feel that the Jarum Group is fortunate to have Mr. Martin Hartono, who is my boss. Mr. Martin Hartono is the CEO and the founder of GDP Venture. He has been passionate about technology in general since he was in college. Right now, he saw this opportunity about the high tech. Not only how see the opportunity, he also want to nurture the Indonesian high tech startup. Right. So with that, the right mindset, then he start executing this, assembling the right team, the right people, and investing in the right company, and all this kind of stuff. So it starts with the mindset, and if you have the right mindset, then the rest follows, right? Because I talk to many conglomerates and many large companies in Indonesia. They have money and all of these things, but they don't really view technology as high priority. In such a way, they think, well, we are not a technology company, we're not going to invest in it. But think about it. In virtually every industry, including our own personal life, who is not affected by technology today?
Yes.
Think about it. The minute you wake up, and then until you sleep at night, and somewhere in between, we are all affected by technology today, directly or indirectly. So in terms of GDP in general, we make a lot of mistakes. There are a lot of failures, but in this industry, high risk and high reward. That means if you only have few success, that will pay off everything. This is the same with all those giant. A lot of people celebrate about this big company that become $1 trillion by market cap, but a lot of people didn't know there are so many failures behind it. But a few projects that they make are so successful, that thing is just pay all this failure. So a lot of trials and error.
Sure. If we see in Indonesia, and maybe also same with similar case in Southeast Asia countries, where they start using IT as a users, and then when we start thinking about AI, what is actually they should have in mindset? Is it they build their own AI, or utilize AI from, let's say, existing AI, because we know that GDP already makes some AI collecting the data, making the models. What do you think enterprise should react in terms of mindset on AI? Is it like there is something I can buy, there's something I can implement, or there's something I should build?
Actually, this is a great question. This is one of the most frequently asked questions that people ask me. Looking back for the past 11 years in Indonesia in particular, I view that it's been very successful for our group is what I call learn, invest, and partnership. Abbreviation LEAP, right? So you learn, hey, like for example AI, hey, AI was hot, start emerging 10 years ago, so we learn about it. Make sure we understand what it is. Once we have a basic understanding, then we invest in high-tech startup with the right founders. And then we learn again from them because they know what they're doing and all of those things. And then that thing is still not enough because there's a shortage not only in AI but also in software engineering in general. So in addition to cover that gap, we also still need to partner. That's why I say learn, invest, and partner, right? So there's no single silver bullet to solve this problem, right? In any technology, you just need to do this because you cannot hire people fast enough, right? Your customer, your business cannot wait. So you want to deploy and apply this technology as soon as possible. And I think this is validated for the past 3 years now during the pandemic. Imagine during pandemic, you know, I remember a lot of people before the pandemic said, I will never let my employees work remote because we don't know what they are doing. It's very hard to collaborate. But because of the pandemic, we were all forced to work remote, right? So this is actually, I was lucky looking back in March 11, 2020. That day, I make decision GDP Lab will work from home because of the pandemic. And then when I make that decision March 11, 2020, we apply that the next day. Why? Because when I built GDP Lab 10 years ago, it was designed to be working remote. Because when I was in the US, I used to manage my team in Shanghai, China, India, and about 6 cities in the US. So I'm used to with this, right?
Remote by nature.
Exactly. So we were born cloud native. We were born work from anywhere, not only work from home or office, it's work from anywhere. So when we decided that we flip the switch, we applied that next day.
Very nice.
I saw some companies struggling, took them weeks, some of them even months, and even today they still don't get it right, right? Because they need to adapt on this thing.
Pandemic is a good example on how can enterprise suddenly change their mindset because of the situation.
Exactly.
Critical situation. But let's get back to AI. What is the critical situation so they can adopt and they can learn, invest, and also partner? Because most of the common mindset is just this kind like a SQL server or operating system I can buy, I can install, and then it run. So what is the bottleneck? What is the challenge?
I think today, if you want to apply AI, you're very fortunate because a lot of open source and public services available today. Unlike 5-10 years ago, you have to build on your own, right? Right now, if you look, so that's a good news. A lot of public cloud company have many AI solution already. You just need to apply it, okay? And then, of course, you need to mix it to do with some open source stuff and then build your proprietary stuff to build your custom solution specific to your company. So that's the current state. We are very fortunate, but it doesn't make it easy. It doesn't mean it's easy, right? It makes it easier, but you still have to do some work on it thing, okay? Now, in terms of the AI, one thing that's interesting for me, because I noticed in Indonesia, I noticed a lot of people that have in the position of power and authority with the budget. Actually, most of them are non-technical. So what does it mean? If they don't understand, they're not going to invest it. So the way I usually recommend, this is actually working well for our group, is that, hey, it's totally okay if your CEO, for example, a business person, that's great, right? So what you need to do, the CEO that have no technical background, they need to hire somebody at the C level, the chief technology officer or chief information officer, so they can sit in the table during the strategic meeting, annual budget. Hey, you need to allocate this for AI because this will help your business goal, right? So we have to translate from as a technology. We need to translate this, what this AI mean for the business, right? Once they understand the benefit in terms of increased revenue, increased profit, reduction of cost, increased productivity. Once they understand it, then they will allocate and invest the budget for AI, right? And then after that, then we'll become curious, how AI can do this? Then that's the time when you say this is how it works, right? Don't flip around, because they are business people. They are not interested with technology. They're only interested what help them in their business.
No,
So that's the way you emphasize the benefit, the feature, and then the technology. It should be in that order.
in terms of the maturity of the technology itself in AI. But what do you see? I mean, some technology already mature, like SQL serverless text, for example. Anybody, business people really understand there is a database. I have to store my data, and then this is enterprise data. But for AI, because we need to start from learn, invest on competence, and then investing more people, and then the result may come 5 to 10 years. But if they don't start now, then how they can get 5 to 10 years in benefit? So how to convince the C-level or business decision maker that this is something important and for the company itself?
I would say that if you want to start on this, start small, and then make a quick win, and then you build up on the success. So that way you build your confidence, build your skill and your team, and so on, right? So that's one way to do it. Don't jump immediately, right? You need to set a goal, a quick win, because they don't have the patience waiting for 5 years. We don't have that kind of luxury in today's world. Okay, so for us, this is why I said we have to partner, learn, invest, and partner. So in this case, you need to partner, right? The way we do it is, when we partner with an expert in certain area, AI or any subject matter, okay, we also transfer knowledge at the same time. As we implement this, well, our business get immediate benefit. At the same time, we also start building our internal team, so we don't depend on them forever. It's a temporary stuff, right? A transition. So this way we have the best of both worlds. The business get benefits, and then because this is so crucial and strategic at the same time, and then at the same time you learn it, so you retain this knowledge. So you don't depend to from your partner and other company forever. So that's the way to do it, I guess.
Okay.
That has been working
So
well for us.
start small, get a quick impact, and then scale.
Exactly.
Okay, that's a very, very good insight. So if we're going to start small, then we need to pick the use case, right, for enterprise.
Exactly.
And then in all industry, like for example, financial industry, manufacturing, or every industry have their own pain points, and go on the pain points and then use AI to solve the problem.
So let me give you a specific example with that, how I approach this. Usually the way I do it, let's say if you use financial services, you pick any industry. The way I do it, I said, hey, by the way, we know this successful company apply AI in your industry, right? So the way I do it is, I put a slide that I divide into 2 parts. The first column, I said, this is a successful company, the same industry where you are in, and then this is how they do it. And then on the right side, I said, this is my recommendation. This is what you should do the same, and this is how you're different from them, because we need to localize the Indonesian market, right? So that way, they can see to compare and contrast in that particular use case scenario. They immediately get it, and then we do a proof of concept, the POC, and then when you start seeing that, then you invest more. So you create a positive feedback loop. Because you see result, you invest more. And then because the business gain more, you have more money to invest, and then you invest more in technology. Okay. So that become a virtuous circle, a positive feedback loop.
That's what actually we are doing in Samsung actually. But even for very common use case, for example, chatbot or recommendation system. The AI model itself is keep growing. We can see this problem like chatbot as using many paradigm in AI, right?
Yeah.
So the field itself is still growing very fast, and then we need to keep in learning to follow the state-of-the-art models to make sure that our initial model is keep improving. So it's not something like we just install and get benefit, but something we need to keep evolve by the time.
Yeah, I think the other thing that in terms of this AI, as powerful as they are, there are still limitations, right? The way I use the analogy like car. Today, car is a powerful transportation vehicle, and yet if you work with human as the driver, it complements. Okay, so I view AI is also similar like that. There are certain AI use cases, certain technology of AI that achieve superhuman. Definition of superhuman is that mean it can do better than human. However, there are certain things they are not as good as human yet. So if you have that kind of stuff, then you need to put human in the loop. Okay, so that way you get the best of both worlds. The creativity and the resourcefulness of human, and also all this automation and the mechanics that what AI can deliver for you. So it depending on your business use cases, you have that two scenario. One is you have AI with superhuman capability, and then the second scenario when they are not good enough yet, then you can apply human in the loop to complement that.
So you mentioned before about open source, but that is very rapid and active community, and
Yeah.
so, and then this is about human intelligent level, maybe artificial generic intelligence like human. Assuming that company doing that or achieve that, like the case in Google that suddenly people say that one engineer say this is sentient. What do you think about that? Is this something true, or is this mistake made by engineers?
Well, I think we're entering a new phase of AI because what they have done for the past 10 years just amazing, that beyond
Yes.
people expectation. So as a side effect of that, people become more optimistic and they try to generalize it, become a general. I saw this year, I saw the announcement of couple company trying to do that. Okay. But based on what I know today, that general intelligence is not here yet. Now the question whether how many years to go, nobody knows. But at least there's always some brave people try to do this. These kind of people that actually keep improving the technology, right? They keep pushing the envelope of what the technology can do. So I think for the enterprise stuff, you keep the one that actually mature, almost mature, and then keep an eye for that kind of stuff, right? For me, that's what GDP Labs does, right? On one end, hey, here's the state of the art of technology that you can safely deploy without any risk, and you get the maximum benefit by deploying this technology. At the same time, there are some like bleeding edge technology, looks promising, but we don't know yet. Let's do our research in our lab. Once we confirm that, then we move to that phase, we deploy it, right? And there will be failure after failure. That's part of the process.
That's the kind of process
Yeah.
we implement Samsung research as well.
Good.
So reduce the problem space, make sure that we are good in one very small problem, and then we growing.
Yeah.
But enterprise, I think, let's back to enterprise. What do you think the most challenging for enterprise in terms of talent? Everybody say talent war. It's very hard to get AI talent, but I heard about GDP have a lot of AI engineers and researchers. What is your insight? How do you get it?
Yeah, the talent's kind of always interesting. I think, like I said earlier, it's more than just AI. It's software engineering in general. Okay, even during hard time like this, finding a great engineer is still not easy. So the way we do it is this. For me, I have a job posting that, hey, I find like 5-10 years and even more experienced engineers. If I get a couple of them, people like that, it's a bonus. It's lucky. At the same time, I don't want to keep waiting for them. So what I do, I also recruit less experienced, even fresh graduate, and I train them. So let's say Like, for example, some people at GDP Lab have been around for 10 years now since they graduated. So they are as good as those people that I've been looking for 10 years ago
Yes.
by now. So I do this in parallel, right? If the experienced person show up, it's great. If not, this thing I have to keep moving. And if for any reason I still don't have that, that's where the partnership come in, right? And some our high investment in our startup, we just use their service until we ourselves ready. So that's the way I approach it. That's why back to you need to have partnership. Like Samsung is a global company, and guess what? They have one thing in common. They need partners, no matter how big you are, right? Especially if you are not as big as they are, you need more partner even more. Don't try to, this is not invented here syndrome.
Yeah.
You are not going to survive in this industry.
Interesting. We'll cover that later, but I think let's have a break first, and then we'll cover more discussion about that topic. Not invented here.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's back to the topic of not invented here. So I think if we look on Indonesia, local ecosystem, not too many AI companies. They are good actually, because I know that you are working on some nurturing local company for AI that maybe we can only see in Silicon Valley. But having said that, all of the enterprise landscape is not changing for maybe 2 or 3 decades. How actually partner, especially for us in Samsung, what is your advice for Samsung partners in terms of building competency in AI and working with enterprise to make sure that they get economic benefit working on AI, not just another application development project, or this is something different, right? It's not like building application.
Yeah, I think I would say education is the number one thing. Educating the potential customer, hey, when you're getting into AI, this is kind of different from typical programming like learning mobile development or web programming, for example.
Exactly.
This is totally different.
Totally different.
Right? Because if you learn about web or mobile, typical programming like this, computer science alone is enough. In AI, usually you need to have this mix of skill. In addition to computer science, you also have to know about mathematics and statistics.
Yeah.
Right? If you're also doing NLP, for example, then you have to understand languages. So it's a cross-domain expertise, not only a single one, right? And that's one, educating them. And the second one is the technology providers, like Samsung and the partners, for example, they also have to keep it simple. So that means with a few lines of code, they could integrate into the existing app to be AI capable. And the third one is equally important, is the pricing. Okay.
Pricing.
Yeah, the pricing, it has to make sense for the business. All these technology is supposed to be cost reduction, increase productivity, and so on. You want to make sure all those saving actually save the company, not paying the technology partners. Right? So there should be a balance on that one between the pricing and the feature side. Make sure at the end of the day, after partnering with the technology provider and applying all of this, at the end of the day, the company actually save money or makes more money. That's what it boils down to. So there are a few things what the customers, the potential customers should do, but also the technology providers should do as well. So they should meet halfway.
Sure. So educating the customer, that's what you mentioned. That, yeah, I think sometimes the customer thinks they know all, or very hard for us to educate that this is not building website, or this is not building application like Android or mobile application, right? This is mathematical modeling for the data.
Yeah.
So many misconceptions actually, but so like I said, for example, some companies say that I want to have big data before AI. What do you think about that? Do we need the whole data for building the AI, or maybe the data is not inside that company, so they have to make the data?
Well, it depends on the use cases. There are times that you need big data. There are times you don't really need big data. But one thing that you definitely is to have a good data, whether that's big or small data. You have a good, reliable data that clean, uh, greatly labeled, then you can make it useful, right? It depends on the application. Like, for example, for anti-fraud, maybe you need a lot of data. But there's certain thing, if you have a clean data, small data is good enough. It depends on the use cases, right? However, one of the common thing in a lot of enterprise, not only Indonesia, I think globally, a lot of that data in the enterprise are silos. They are not integrated. So sometimes they don't know where to begin. So that's kind of dependency, regardless of the size of the data. I just make sure that you have this integrated data, so you can leverage from various departments to make sure you have this unified data from your company's customer, supply chain, the partners, whatever. Right? That's usually one of the common thing that most enterprises don't have.
So the data may be
Fragmented
and
silo, yeah.
everywhere silo, and understanding of the data itself is very low. So even the data is there, nothing we can do to make it clean and good data.
Yeah.
And what about the tools? What is the necessary tools for them to create this good data?
Yeah, when GDP invests in various AI company, this is by design. We pick one company only good at one thing, okay? Because we know startup need to focus because they're small and they just starting. They cannot do too much thing. If they are out of focus, they will fail. They are lucky if they can do one thing good and successful. So on purpose, I selected some of these company that specific thing, right? One is for the NLP, one is for analytic, one is for data labeling. But if you combine them together, it will give end-to-end solution to the customers. So those are by design, not random. So because I look at that way, usually now if we provide solution, we bring a few these AI company together. Our AI company, here's your end-to-end solution.
Follow the requirement to build from data to AI models
to the solution.
Okay, that's great. Yeah. Okay, maybe last question for this enterprise topic. I would like actually to hear from you. Assuming you are meeting a CEO, and then you want to pitch why they have to invest AI and technology for Indonesian companies. What will you say to them?
Well, in 2020, August 2020, Indonesian government has shared Indonesian AI strategy nationwide.
Yeah, I saw that document. Yeah.
That's about...
It's like a long-term vision that Indonesia should use AI.
Exactly. It started a few years ago, but with the direction from our president. Okay. So we have that. We are executing this. So it's good when you have a technology blessed and developed by the government. We have to invest it. Okay. So a lot of government agency now, I know, in Indonesia either deploy or actually implementing it as we speak now. So that's one. And the second one is the customer. A lot of consumer are not aware when they're using Samsung phone, for example.
They're using AI actually.
They are using AI under the hood. Yeah. They just like autocorrect, auto suggest, they take it for granted. Those are AI in action. They are just not aware of it.
Yeah.
But that means the consumer is ready. The demand is there, right? They are not going to settle anything less than that. Okay. So if the government regulation is ready and the consumer is ready and the price is affordable, because it's becoming mainstream, because with economy of scale, suddenly this thing becoming more and more affordable. So that's usually, and a lot of investment from the venture capital community, billions of dollars invested in this area. That's the recipe of going mainstream and to be successful, right? So back to how to pitch to the enterprise CEO. Well, you need to invest in this technology if you want not only to thrive, but actually to survive, right? So it's a
Yeah.
matter of survival and thriving.
Yeah.
So this become a necessity, no longer nice to have,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah. So it's consumer is very demanding.
Exactly.
So now, for example, the AI in Samsung is like Bixby or everything we built in the device, right?
Yeah.
And now I read last month regarding one magazine utilizing art of AI for the cover page.
That's right.
so so I think more momentum, more things will come. So from consumer, they are demanding, so they have to secure the company.
Yeah.
Otherwise, this opportunity taken by other companies. Okay, thank you for the enterprise discussion. But so actually, some of our Samsung partners want to know more about you, and then you are in industry maybe more than 30 years in Silicon Valley, in Indonesia. Uh, what will be your advice for AI engineer who just enter this field, and how they can still curious because this field is rapidly growing. They stop reading the papers for 6 months. They're outdated. So,
Yeah.
what will be your advice for them?
Well, I always tell my engineers at GDP Lab to become a T-shaped,
Mm-hmm.
well-rounded. What that means is T-shaped. That means you have in-depth with certain knowledge like AI, whether NLP, computer vision, or speech, whatever your passion,
Mm-hmm.
right? You have to have in-depth knowledge on that. But we also know AI cannot run standalone. It depends on other technology. So
Mm-hmm.
you will have enough breadth that how AI complement with other technology. I've been coining this term what I call ABCDX. That
Yes.
means AI, blockchain, cloud, data, security, web, and so on. So it's okay to know a little bit of BCDX, but if you're in AI, you better go in depth with your the
Mm-hmm.
AI side of it.
Mm-hmm.
Then constantly monitoring and learning the new algorithm, whatever new thing.
How the GDP engineers learn about AI? Are they reading the books, or what is the what
Yeah,
is the secret?
actually, it's a mix. Like about 5 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
also, I told my team, everybody, not only obviously the engineers, but also my HR, finance, and PM, they have to learn AI within 2 years. Otherwise,
Mm-hmm.
they have to leave the company, right? And now blockchain, I also said the same way. I said I give you guys 2 years to learn blockchain, to keep up to date. If you want to get promoted to middle management and higher
Mm-hmm.
at GDP Lab, they have to know how to apply ABCDX technology in their business.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the way, at least, how quote unquote I encourage them to learn
Mm-hmm.
about the emerging technology and
Mm-hmm.
how they combine together to benefit the company.
Mm-hmm. So all of the material is very open, actually, right?
Yeah,
Because
they learn. It's a mix. You can go to conferences, you go to Coursera, you go to YouTube, which
yes,
is
a lot of
yeah,
a lot of
a lot of video free,
yeah
TED Talk, all those kind of stuff. A lot of article, Medium. There are a lot
papers.
of there are a lot of material. Actually, there are more materials than you need.
Yes,
Actually, at this point,
at this point, yes,
yeah. What you need is just the willingness to learn.
great. So thank you very much, Pa On.
Thank you for having me.
I think it's very good conversation. Unfortunately, we are limited by time. So hopefully we can invite you again for more deeper topic in enterprise, because we want our partners in Samsung to learn from your wisdoms and see how we can work in this market together, to make sure that Indonesia future is brighter
Yeah.
in the future. Thank you, Pak.
Thank you.
Okay, we arrive at the end of this Samsung podcast conversation with Mr. Only, and I hope you can learn a lot from the discussion. Uh, we have a we have a very big opportunity in Indonesia because we are such a big country, the fourth most populous country in the world, and also we are young generation. There's hungry to learn, and AI is one of the area that we can put our time and energy to learn. With such a big market in Indonesia, we do believe that AI will create more economic impact for the country for in the future. So stay tuned. We will have more Samsung Business Talk podcast with different topic to elevate the thinking and the mindset of Indonesian engineers. Thank you very much.
Dalam menjalani hari, kita perlu perangkat yang mendukung kegiatan dan dapat diandalkan setiap saat. Yang menerangi pencarian barang, berkomunikasi tanpa henti sepanjang hari, tahan banting di berbagai situasi, serta kuat di berbagai kondisi. Memastikan semua hal berjalan lancar dengan Samsung Galaxy X Cover 5 dan Tab Active 3.